Welcome to the Guitars, Cowboys, and Hillbilly Music Podcast. We are live at Calf Fry 2023 with the owner of the Tumbleweed, Mr. Cary McBride. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Very excited. I didn't know if we would ever make this happen, but looks like we finally got you here. So
glad to be here.
So, real quick before we get into questions not related to Calf Fry, what are some things that people need to know that maybe have never been here, or something new this year, things to watch out for, stuff like that?
A lot new this year. We always try to improve Calf Fry. I mean, if we at the moment we decide to go, just keep it the same each and every year. That's probably the moment that I need to hand over the reins to somebody else, which has been the enjoyment of just Tumbleweed and Calf Fry for me. Just trying to create something new each and every year, a fun, safe environment, but also at the end of the day, like, just keep Calf Fry what it is, just a little bit more of my edge, I guess, or a little more of the future I'd like to see Calf Fry to be. But this year, so we're going to continue to do the buses this year. There's a little change there. We've done still the same drop-off pickup as always. The bus this year is a $10 ride. In the past, it was a little bit different than that, but this year we're doing $10 rides. We, for the first time ever, we had 22 RV spots last year. For the first time ever, we are completely sold out RV spots with one long waiting list. So that'll be a challenge for next year to try to fix that. Pre-party last year, we did three days of a pre-party, and I felt like the bands that played on Thursday didn't get a fair shake at that, just because it's Thursday, people are still working, there's still finals going on, or studying or whatnot. But so we changed that up to we're just doing Friday and Saturday on the pre-party. So the pre-party starts at 2. We'll go 2 to 6. Main gates are at 5. First band goes at 6. So when you get here at 2, you're going to listen to music until midnight. If you decide that you want to come inside the Tumbleweed at midnight, which is our sound ordinance outside, then at that point you can come inside and listen to the after party until 2. So you could do, if you really were a trooper, you could do 12 straight hours of music.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So, and that's one thing I really love that I've seen Calf Fry do, especially with the pre-party stuff, is that you guys get a lot of smaller local musicians to come out and play and get a chance to play on the level of the Calf Fry Festival, which is legendary in its own.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing that really goes to the heart of Red Dirt music, is that, and obviously where it all started is Stillwater, is getting those local up-and-coming musicians playing a great festival and exhibiting all of their music and everything that they have to this major crowd every year.
Yep, absolutely. That's been the goal. I mean, I grew up, I spent my sophomore, I started my sophomore year of college at OSU, and, I'm old, so back in the Stoney and Jason and Cody days of the original Wormy Dog upstairs, on the strip below or above Hello Gorgeous. So I got to watch those guys and the progression of those guys, and that's always been the excitement for me. I think this is 14 years now of being an owner of the Tumbleweed, and that was then that was the whole thought, was just like, hey, this will be a great, this is a great, just a place for me to kind of live out my dream with the music side of things. So you're right, the pre-party is always that's the reason why the pre-party came about. I mean, the amount of bands that want to play Calf Fry, there's always the bands we're going to chase, that we're going to try to go after to bring something new and exciting, what the fans want to hear at the end of the day. But we're going to try to bring those people back every year. But the pre-party is something for us that the ask is tremendous of the people. Hey, can we play Calf Fry? Can we play Calf Fry? Well, we'd love to get you out there, but it's hard to do that when you're only putting 4 guys on the main stage. So it was like a couple of years ago, I was like, let's do this pre-party thing. So we had the space, and my dad and friends are great welders, and I was a dreamer, and I said, hey, let's do this. And about 2-3 weeks later, we had a pre-party stage and a bar underneath it, and a PA bot, and all sorts of craziness. But to touch on that, I mean, that's the excitement of the Tumbleweed for me, going back to it, is just that what was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, Luke Combs. Luke Combs opened for Aaron Watson, and I talked to him briefly before he went on, and he was like, man, I'm nervous. I'm going to play a lot of covers. Why? And he's like, well, no one's going to know my music. And look where he is now. And so obviously that's what the Tumbleweed is. I mean, people would love to see us get Whiskey and Co. and all those, all the guys that have been here every single year. Well, that's just not reality anymore. With radius clauses, and it's one of those deals. Like, I would love to educate people on that sometimes, and it's just like at what cost, on what platform, to let them know like what that means, because you can't get Co. He's not going to play BOK and BOK and then turn around and play Paycom and then also play here. The radius won't allow for that.
A while back, I touched on that briefly because you had mentioned at a meeting we had that was kind of the situation with Turnpike, because there was a lot of people, like, I know asking me. I know you had a lot of people asking you. So if you want to briefly kind of go over what that is and why some things like that can't happen.
Yeah, so it's for a lot of reasons. The band's management, of course, doesn't want to they don't want to saturate the market, and which is understandable. I mean, those guys, they're so hot right now. I don't know that you could oversaturate the market with a few of those, a few of the names that we all know of. But it also protects the venues in a sense. I mean, you don't want to, I don't want to put somebody in here that doesn't sell, doesn't really sell all that, or that doesn't sell all that well. Or I don't want another venue. We shouldn't, as venue owners, we shouldn't try to hurt each other.
Right.
I want Oklahoma City venues to do well and sell out, just like I want a Tulsa venue to do well and sell out. And I hope they wish the same for us. If someone's going to play in Oklahoma City on a Thursday and here on a Friday in Tulsa on a Saturday, like, there's a good chance they're not going to sell out 3 nights in a row. So obviously the band is paid a set fee plus a back end, typically based on attendance. And so therefore it's going to take an up and coming band might not be able to sell out all 3 venues. So the radius is in place, kind of getting sidetracked here, but the radius is in place basically to help the artists and to help the venue as well. So like, it depends. Club dates have different radiuses than like Cafri would, and they're all different. I can't really just say, hey, this is the radius. Right. But it's all a protection thing, for the band as well as the venue. So like we would say, like just hypothetically that we'll use Parker. These are not real numbers, but just Parker couldn't play within 60 miles within like 120 days before or after. Obviously someone like Parker can pull that off, whereas a band that's kind of starting out, that wouldn't work, because 75% of the plays that they make are within that 120 miles. So it's kind of structured from top to bottom, being headliner all the way down. You can't make that realistic, and we've tried to be really fair, I think, across the board with the radius, as even going down to the openers, some support acts, to try to make it fair. I mean, I wouldn't want to see, even for the sake of them, I wouldn't want to see them play the night before and have nobody show up and then come to Cafri and it be packed. I would feel sorry for them the night before, because they don't want to play they want to play for a crowd,
right?
Just like the other venue is going to want a packed house. So again, it's just there's a lot of things that go into it, and a lot of there's definitely more thought that goes into booking the bands than people think. Of course, for me, I would love to see Cafri Thursday night be, Whiskey, and Friday be Co, and Saturday be Parker, and we just have 3 crazy nights. But in all reality, it's just that you're not going to make that work with the radius. Yeah. So obviously, with Co playing recently, that's going to radius us out. With Turnpike playing, that's going to radius us out. Playing BOK and I always want to call it Chesapeake with Paycom. So that's basically how that works.
Yeah, and I think I hear a lot of people complain like Cafri isn't what it used to be because Co-Wetzel isn't playing there, or Turnpike's not playing there, and it's like they don't understand that, for one, it's probably harder to get Co-Wetzel right now than it was 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
And it's probably harder to get all these big acts like that, because at the time they were playing here, they weren't as big as they were now.
Absolutely.
And stuff like this is how they get big.
Absolutely. I mean, if you go back and look, I mean, from George Strait to Garth Brooks to, I mean, you could go and name names that are huge now.
Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah, I mean, just some big names that the progression is there. I mean, to think that we were just talking about this earlier today, Lainey Wilson. I mean, look at Lainey that we had back in, what was it, September, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And didn't sell out Lainey inside the club.
Yeah.
And now I can assure you
Yeah.
that if we were to have Lainey, I mean, Lainey's not going to play back inside the club because the numbers don't make sense. She's she's doing bigger things than that. But to have Lane at Calf Ride, you're talking about, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me there's 15,000 people show up.
Right.
So it is kind of, I love talking about the progression, and I love it, just kind of reminiscing from time to time with people. They're like, you've had such and such play there? I'm like, yeah, like Willie's played. Hank Williams Jr.'s landed a helicopter like in the field back there. I mean, the progression is awesome, and it's really neat to go there. But I mean, I hear the same stuff all the time, like, why don't you get so-and-so? Well, I'd love to get so-and-so, but it just doesn't work that way.
Yep.
It just doesn't. I mean, we have kind of historically gotten bands on their way up and hopefully help them, take that next step or that next leap to get there. We just talked the other day about Wyatt Flores and Cam Allen. I mean, it was 2 years ago, and I watched for the Okie Records event in Tremors. I watched those two guys sing on stage, and I was like, man, these guys are amazing. And look at them now. I mean, Wyatt's open for Willie Nelson. Cam's killing it. Like, it's just, I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
It keeps me. Sometimes when you book the bands and you're going back and forth with the agents and all the things and the writers and just the business side of it, sometimes you walk out at the end of the day you're just like, ah. And then you get to go and watch the Cams and the Wyatts and the Tanner Useries. And I mean, I'm going to, I could go on and on and on, so I don't mean to leave anyone out, but you get to watch them get on the main stage at Calf Ride, and you're like, all right, I kind of remember why we're doing this again. So it just.
I think that's something the lineup this year has done a good job at. I think it holds really true to the red dirt genre this year.
Yeah.
And I think there a lot of, I mean, you're always going to have those people that are, make the negative comments or whatever, but I think it does a really good job this year at holding true to that genre.
Yeah.
For sure. That's, I mean, we've touched base on it. I heard you guys have said it. We just said it. I don't know if we were recording then, but just with the red dirt scene, I mean, Stillwater is the home of red dirt, and like when it's fun, it's fun to talk sometimes to Nashville and to the agents, and then like they'll always talk about like the Tumbleweed being like the White House of red dirt. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, I'll be the White House of red dirt.
You're the president.
My office is the Oval Office.
Yeah.
I guess. But I love that, and I mean, I love that aspect of that. We've kind of got that notoriety in red dirt started here, and going back to the lineup. I mean, last year I was not the most liked person, probably on socials, in the sense of we released the lineup and people were not happy. They're like, oh, this is pop country, or this is this and this is that, and but I have to go back and say, like, I mean, what's Parker now? Like, I mean, he's not he's not pop country, but he's for sure Nashville country.
Yeah.
So at what point do they like kind of bridge that gap to say they were red dirt and now they're Nashville country, or they're there's mainstream country, because they're all. I mean, that's I think if you asked any of them if they were sitting here, I think they would say, I mean, that's their career. Their career is to make it as far as they possibly can, to be in as as big.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's their career. They want to make, they want to make make as much as they possibly can, and also, just put out great music. So their goal is to become, as big as they can.
Well, I'm sure you didn't lose any sleep over the hate comments on the lineup. So.
No. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it is tough because the hours that go into booking the bands. I mean, we're already working on 24 right now, and just to try to get what we think everybody wants. But you still, I mean, there's the bands that come out of nowhere that you're like, oh man, I completely missed it. I mean, it's why I try to attend the other music festivals to hear music, to see if I think it's gonna like be something, or something, that the crowd like Stillwater's gonna love or Oklahoma's gonna love. But I really just sorry, these headphones are killing my ears here. it's hard to book. Like I said, we're a year into it. We're already looking at the next year, and you just never really know because you get like the Treaty Oak revival. I mean, those guys came out of nowhere. They're killing it now.
Yeah.
So yes, when we released it this year, I sat back and everyone close to me was like, just don't even like get on your phone or a computer for the day and see what it goes. And so like the night came around and I was like, well, how was it? Everyone's like, oh, I think everybody's pretty happy. I'm like, well, cool. So we got that last year. I mean, we put out the lineup that we put out, and it wasn't. I mean, there's still a great crowd and still a great calf ride at the end of the day, but it wasn't what everybody wanted. So that's what we went. I mean, I really was like, okay, let's see who's available, and let's try to push this as much red dirt as we can possibly be. And I think we did that this year.
Yeah.
I think if anyone says we didn't, then they don't really know what red dirt music is.
Exactly. So, talking about these up-and-coming acts, I'll just give you like the past year. What is one act that really stands out that you think is going to make a big jump to the next level soon?
That's a tough one. There's several that I would say are going to do something. I think Wyatt Flores is going to do some big stuff in the next year. I think Cam Allen's going to do some big stuff this next year. If we're at that level, if we're pre-party level, I was blown away. I was glad I wasn't a judge. Like, I'm thrilled I wasn't a judge because I would have like just been beating my head against the wall going like, man, these were damn good bands. At that level, I mean, I didn't agree with the judges every night on the Battle of the Bands, but towards the end, I was like, man, these guys are good. Like, I mean, these guys are really good. So, I mean, I will. I mean, all of the guys that played the Battle of the Bands were good. I think there was a few that were upsets that that I was kind of like, okay. Like I said, I didn't agree with that one. And there's some that I think will come back. I hope they come back. I think they'll make it the next go round. I mean, because the pairing. I mean, the pairing was really not. We didn't make the pairing. The pairing was just when the bands were available.
Yeah.
And so you had Avery. Like I'm a fan of Avery. I like Avery's music, and Avery went head to head with who was Avery with? Brandon Bethel, I think maybe. Was he? Was it?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. And I mean, Brandon made it to the top 3, and so that was a tough one because I was like, man, I'm a fan of Avery. Like I really like Avery's music. I like where he's going with it, and so I was like, not that I don't like Brandon at all. I mean, like I said, the way it played out was amazing, and I would have never wanted to choose. I wouldn't want to made it from 6-3, 3-1. But I think I hope it was perceived and I hope it was received by the bands as being as authentic as it possibly could be, and I hope that we get as much hype about it for next year. I have every intention of next year of doing what we did this year, of saying we're going to choose 3 and you're going to play each day. We found a way. Steve Carr, our sound engineer and stage manager, I just went to him and said, I have this idea, and he was like, all right, you're the boss, so I guess that's what we're doing. I'm like, no, argue with me if you'd like. I mean, I don't mind, but it's what I'd like to do. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So here we are we got to make that fun announcement. I think they were all pretty excited, and I'm excited for it. So I don't get to watch as many of the acts out there as I'd like to, but I'm sure I'll hear after the fact or each night how good it was, or who didn't play the best they could have played or so.
Yeah. So what kind of music do you listen to, like outside of Tumbleweed, on your own time?
I'm still a Red Dirt fan. I mean, I really am a Red Dirt fan, but I'm a huge Alan Stone fan. If you don't know who Alan Stone is, go check him out. Alan Stone is amazing. He's amazing, like absolutely amazing. I'm probably a little more bluesy than people would think. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm on the lake and it's summer and we're cruising across the water, you never know what might be on my playlist. But all in all, I mean, I like Red Dirt music. It'd be really hard if it'd be really hard for me on a road trip with someone if they were just strictly like rock. I'd be like, I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna have to ride in the bed of the truck for this one. I like rock music, but I just didn't grow up with that. I mean, I grew up with cassette tapes of my dad playing George and Garth and Merle and Waylon and Willie. I mean, so for me to go, we just didn't play rock in our house. So sometimes I think my friends laugh. They're like, do you know who sings this song? As a joke. I'm like, no clue. Like, I know the words, but I have no idea who sings it.
Yeah, that's how I am all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the old. That's the stuff I listen to now, the Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson, all that stuff. And he's kind of more of the.
I diversify a little bit. I listen to a little bit of everything, but mainly kind of like rock and obviously Red Dirt Country all the time too. But yeah, sometimes I'll be like, you don't know who sings this song? He's like, I've never heard this song in my life.
So when did you? I've heard you say before you came to Tumbleweed as a kid in college.
I did.
When did you kind of figure out? Because you got several different things going. When did you figure out that's what you wanted to do? Was kind of do your own thing?
I think I'm still questionable about what is going to be my thing, but true story. I sat underneath that flagpole with Hank Moore, which used to own the Tumbleweed, and I said, I'm going to own this place one day. He's like, you think so? I said, no, I'm going to. And he was like, really? Like, why? And I was like, I don't know. I just think one day I'll probably own this place. And we joke about that now. I still talk to Hank, especially when it gets closer to calf fry. If I ever got one that I just can't figure out, I'll call him because he's done it several more times than I have. I don't know. I mean, it's 14 years ago, I think last month, maybe a couple months ago, I think. And there was 4 of us, and 2 of us were in oil and 2 were in the bar business. And it's at the time, Guy Clark and I, obviously not singer Guy Clark, but Guy and I didn't know each other, both in oil, but we it was just a place for us to kind of be an investment, and more so on Guy's behalf, not so much mine originally, but just to be something fun to do, and like, why not be a part of the Tumbleweed? And the other 2 guys ran it, and people just have different ideas, and so I think about 10 years into it maybe, we just agreed to disagree, and Guy and I decided at that point that we just weren't going to be partners with him anymore. And it was not to say anything bad about anyone, but if you look at the Tumbleweed 4 years ago and you look at the Tumbleweed today, I think everybody can tell that the Tumbleweed's not what it was. Some people, of course, are going to be like, oh yeah, it was a lot more fun then because we had a pre-party and blah, blah, blah. But I think for the overall experience of Calf Ride being a safe, fun event, and just the things that we've added the last few years, I think everybody can see that we're trying to put something into it, or put more into it than was ever done the years prior. So we're pretty proud of that, and I say it all the time. I'm like, if we're not adding something, then we're not doing it right, because I want to create a new experience. I love going to different venues. I think I've lost count at this point, but over 15 years at Steamboat Music Fest, and I love going, and each year they've kind of done something different, and that excites me. I'm like, oh, okay.
So while you're going to all these music festivals and everything, do you have any like crazy stories from like driving around and going to these? Anything you want to share with us that would be a great story?
Yeah. So I we talked about this today. Mary and Seth. Was it 2 year ago? Yeah, 2 years ago I went to Mile Zero Fest, and that wasn't my first year, but it was a year that I was like, I just need to go get away and go to a music fest. And I went to Steamboat and turned right around and went to Mile Zero, which were pretty close. So I did a lot of music within early January, early February. But no, just had a great time, and Brandy Weaver, which is our vendor coordinator here, she's also their vendor coordinator, and she's a full-time resident in Key West, which I'm extremely jealous of. But she was like, "Hey, come down. We want you to see some things and have a good time." And the first night, I had Stoney and I stayed out. We sang karaoke till literally it was 3:30 in the morning, and I was starving, and I had a scooter. and on Duval, and I was like, man, I'm starving, and I I refused to eat this street hot dogs. Like this guy, like
Yeah.
it just didn't. I mean, I literally saw him drop one and put it back like on the deal, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. And I found this sushi place, and I went by myself and ate sushi at till 4 in the morning. And I did it like the next 3 nights. It was the best sushi I've ever had in my entire life. Like the next year when I go to Mile Zero, I'm 100% like going to this sushi place. I pray to God, I need to ask Brandy today if it's still open. But it was one of those nights. Like the next day, I was like, when I got in bed, finally, I was like, man, tomorrow's going to be hell. Like it's just going to be the worst day. And it was amazing. I just like popped up and was ready to go. And I'm like, I don't know what it was because it was 4 in the morning. It was the sushi. I feel amazing, and we're going to do it again. And I continue to do that until the day I flew out. But that is an amazing trip. It is a festival that I would encourage each and every person to go to. Put on by Oklahoman Okies. So can't complain about that either. But it's a great event. I know they're doing three or four down there now. But a great event, and one that I will continue to try to go to every chance I can. And if Stoney wants to sing karaoke all night, we'll do that and go eat sushi. So,
speaking of events outside city limits,
Yep.
coming up, it's a few months away, but coming up. I was going to ask you this question about calf fry a couple months ago.
Okay.
But is there any exclusive information you can give us about OCL?
Okay. Yeah. Well, shocker. I'm not doing OCL this year.
Okay.
Really?
I'm not going to do it. It has been a challenge. I mean, as anything is, when you try to develop something new, it's always a challenge, and you're going to work 10 times harder. Calf fry this year's 31 years of calf fry, and I always say like Hank really had like the ball. He had the wheels rolling. We just found a way to maybe make it a little more efficient, roll a little longer, a little smoother. And without saying anything bad about him, he ran a great show for a long time. But with OCL, was working so hard to put a great lineup out, and I think the lineup was amazing.
This last year?
Yes,
I loved it. It was a great lineup.
great
It was
lineup.
awesome.
But we don't have the attention of all the students and everybody like we
Right.
do. We had some banger shows like this semester, and
Yeah.
some sold out stuff, and feel like everybody's watching us and seeing what we're doing, and then we put calf fry at the end of that, and it's just a blowout for the year, where everyone then goes to, whether they're working or traveling or doing whatever they're doing all summer long, and they don't really care. They know that the Tumbleweed's closed over the summer, so they're not watching everything that we're doing, and so to try to get their attention as soon as they get back is really tough, and we marketed it to death. And I thought like I said, the lineup was there, and at the end of the day, it wasn't the success that I had hoped for it to be. And I've got something else up my sleeve, so I'm going to do something a little different. To give you a teaser of it, we're still going to do something.
Okay.
It's just not going to be in September or October. Maybe not November either, but it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. It'll have It'll have this last year's OCL feel, to give you a little bit of a hint of what we're looking at. Probably something in this area of the building that we're in right now. But again, going back to September and OCL, I mean, OCL it's tough. I mean, you've got 2 state fairs. You've got OSU football. You've got school starting back. You've got so many different things, so many other different festivals and events. And, I mean, the weather that time of the year is usually pretty spot on for those type of things. And I'm not real good at, like, I love when people challenge me to say, oh, you can't do that or you're not going to do that. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Watch this.
Maybe not today.
Yeah.
But give me a minute. So I'm not going to say it's not going to come back. It's not going to ever come back as OCL. OCL lived as a vote for, like, when we decided what we were going to call the event. Because in my college career, it was College Days.
Yeah.
And, based off the Great Divide and their song. And it was always College Days. And then we at the time.
Wasn't it weed stock at one point too?
It was weed stock. Yeah, it was weed stock, and we got a cease and desist the day of weed stock from Woodstock.
Wow.
It was like, you don't own everything that says stock at the end of it.
That's crazy.
And that was frustrating. They were like, yeah, we're gonna cease and desist because we're also in the medical marijuana field. I'm like, you're not gonna tell us the day of. We've been doing this marketing this for 6+ months now.
Yeah.
I would have loved to kept it weed stock for forever, and our attorney was like, yeah, let's probably just stay away from that. Like, you can come up with something creative. And I was like, all right, we'll go with something creative. And we are truly outside of the city limits of Stillwater, and there was some stuff going on with some. They're not current anymore, but some political people in the town that didn't like everything that we were doing, and so I really just wanted to make it a point that we are not in the city limits.
Yeah.
And but with all that said, we obviously we still, for the town of Stillwater and even greater Stillwater, obviously we put a lot of money in tax revenue into Stillwater, and that's I had that conversation not too long ago with some city officials, and like, well, you're outside the city limits. You don't really, you're not contributing anything to Stillwater. I'm like, you lost your mind. What do you think they eat and stay and buy clothes and beer and everything? They spend all their money in the city. So, but anyways, I think once we had that little talk, I think they realized they're like, oh yeah, it actually does. And there was a study like 3 years ago that calf fry brings in more tax revenue to the city of Stillwater than homecoming does. And I found that to be pretty interesting.
Wow.
And it was actually done. OSU did the study, and I was like, okay, and they're not biased to either. You would think they would want to say, hey,
right.
homecoming's so much better, but they're like, calf fry actually generated more tax revenue than homecoming does. So I'm like, that's cool.
Speaking of OSU, do you have any relationship with Mike Gundy?
I don't.
Never met him.
Yeah, I've met him.
Oh,
yeah, I've met him a couple times, but no relationship. Mike, if you watch it, come out. Let's. They've had recruits come out, and we've always enjoyed that. And but I don't have a relationship with him now.
Mike, please also watch our podcast. That'd be great.
So to wrap up here, I got one final question for you. What is your dream calf fry lineup?
Oh man, that's tough.
3 days, a main act, and then maybe an opener or two.
I would love. I've always wanted to do this, and I don't know that it would work, but I've always wanted to have kind of like a. In Steamboat's done it before, and it wasn't quite the way I would have done it, but I've always wanted to do like a Yellow House revisited day. And if you guys have been at like University Circle, Yellow House, Cody, Jason, Stoney, a bunch of those guys live there. I'm pretty sure Mike did it one time too, but I would love to see like a true Stillwater band day of, Turnpike, Cody, Jason, Stoney, Justice. Just going. You could just keep on going. I would love to see that be one day. And Jeb, if you're watching this, buddy, Floating Leaf Entertainment. Floating Leaf has, let's see, they have who is it now? It's it's Pegasus on the Rooftops, Colby Cooper, Dylan Wheeler, and Logan Yonke. And I've always thought like a little Floating Leaf Fest type deal. But I would love to see. I would love to see Turnpike for sure on a day. I would love to see on a day, and I would really love to see. Bands that I think we could pull off that are realistic in my mind would be definitely Turnpike, definitely and it's hard to say. Parker's tomorrow night, but I like Parker. It would either be like Parker or Cody Johnson. There's still a lot of Cody Johnson. Like, oh, he's mainstream country now, but Cody's just such an entertainer.
Sure.
Just absolute. He's a great entertainer. We went and watched Dwayne Bryan, Zach's dad, got us tickets, and we went and watched. It was Luke Combs, which was like cool, calf fry. Cody Johnson was cool, calf fry. Zach, which was cool, calf fry, and then Morgan Wade. And I was like, we'll get you, girl. Like, we'll get you. So it was a neat deal, but I don't know. I think all in all, it would probably have to be, because I couldn't really decide. I would have to go Thursday night, Co-Wetzel. Friday night, Zach Bryan. Saturday night, Turnpike.
I'd go.
That's pretty good right there.
I think that would be my show. Support's fun. Support's always a good time.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. And I don't know that I always do it, the right way, because I always try to get my headliners in first and then just kind of backfill. And it's not really the right way to do it, but because sometimes this band won't play before this band or whatever, and sometimes Red Dirt's nice because you don't really there's not a lot of ego in Red Dirt.
Yeah.
I had seen so Larry Fleet gonna be here.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen that he's doing some other shows with Parker.
Yep.
I was gonna ask you about that. If that makes it simpler sometimes because it's like a package deal, or if that's
That was one. It's goodness, it's been a long month and definitely a long day. But I don't, if I remember correctly, I'm 99% sure Larry's not on the same label as Parker is, or same booking. And but I knew that it was discussed briefly that he was touring with him, and I was like, hey, let's do it. Like, why not? And so it wasn't a package to me that way.
Yeah.
Occasionally there is some package stuff that comes, but for the most part, this is our festival. Like, this is OSU and Stillwater and the Tumbleweed, and this is our festival here. And I don't want Nashville or any agent trying to tell me, like, this is what your festival should be.
right?
What works here works here. What works another place might not work here. And Stillwater's tough. Stillwater, I love the vocal side of Stillwater. Like, that we always shoot it, like, throw it out there. Like, who do you guys want to see? And some of them, we get the Morgan Wallens, and I'm like, yeah, call him up and get him to play. Like, him, get him to call. We'll make it work. Have his team contact my team. So, but yeah, we would love. That would be my dream lineup for sure. We would love to do some different stuff, but I always say, like, I'm good at what I'm good at, and, like, we're good here at what we're good at, and we're good at Red Dirt Texas country. And that's what we've tried to stick to.
Have you had a favorite act come through this year, like on a weekend show or something?
No, not really. That's hard to say. We've developed some relationships with people that, like Dylan. Dylan was last week, and Dylan's his whole team is amazing, and they came in. I think it was it's running together. I want to say they came in last fall, and they came in from Kansas, if I remember correctly, and it was a snowstorm, so they were here with us for like 5 days. Well, if you're here for 5 days with a band, we
hang out.
Before I was like at one point I was like, let's buy some bowling balls and some pins and bowl on the dance floor. Like, we're like, let's do something. Like, we were like always just trying to come up with something new to do. You can only play so many games of pool, and at the time we didn't have the mechanical bull, which truly was probably a blessing. Because someone would have gotten hurt, I'm sure.
Now, I will say we couldn't get Dylan on the podcast, so he could have been, a little better.
But no, it's hard to really say that. because it's I don't always I'm not I don't really try to fan out to any of them. I respect what they do, and some of them are more outgoing than others, and if the people that come here for the first time are always pretty outgoing, and they're like me, they're like you guys. You don't always have the best day, and you don't know what they're going through outside of
exactly.
what might have happened that day. But I have the ones that are my faves for sure, and we make it a point to always chat it up a little bit and see how their families are doing, or girlfriends, or whatever it might be. But I think that I can't put my finger on one. That's too difficult.
For me, I hadn't heard of Chad Cook Band before.
Yeah,
and we got to talk to them, and those guys are hilarious.
Yeah,
they're good.
They're good.
Yeah.
And now I'm a huge fan of their music, and they're just hilarious guys too.
Yeah.
It was a very underrated conversation that we had.
And I'll go ahead and say mine too. Treaty Oak. When we got to interview them, great guys, and I was really nervous because I'm a huge fan of Treaty Oak. So I was trying not to just be a fanboy the whole time, but I went through all their music, listened to all their stuff, broke it all down. I even had a few good like lyric questions for Lance, and but yeah, they were a great time, and yeah, we're super cool guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we appreciate you letting us come in here and do that, and even setting up our own little studio.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
It's cool.
Yeah.
But we'll have to do it again.
yeah,
For
absolutely.
Sure. Maybe we get a little closer into the fall, and I'll give you guys some insight on what we're doing.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
It'll be a good time.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and
Yes.
like I said, we appreciate you letting us be in here and do
Absolutely.
all this. So,
Yes.
Thank
for
you
sure.
guys.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching.